Miss Spill, case number 009. Love, legally speaking, the unsexy side of romance.
I took my troubles down to Madame Rouge. You know that gypsy with the gold cap too. She's got a pad down a Petticoat and Vine, selling little bottles of love potion number 9.
Right. So episode 9, we had to play that song, right? Because it's a Valentine's episode. Welcome back to Motion to Spill. I'm Sarah Young.
And I'm Meghan Rodgers. And before anyone panics, yes, we're doing a Valentine's Day episode, but no, we're not going to make you listen to us talk about roses and chocolate for 25 minutes.
Gross. Thank goodness, because I ate all my Valentine's chocolates already, and I am not sorry about it. But here's the thing. We're lawyers and paralegals, so we're going to talk about love the way we know best by discussing all the legal stuff nobody wants to think about when they're caught up in romance.
Which I know this sounds like a buzzkill, guys, but honestly, these conversations are some of the most loving things that you can do for your partner.
Yes, it's an act of love. So grab your coffee or wine or mocktail.
Because we don't judge.
Nope. Let's talk about the unsexy side of love.
Not out loud. We don't judge.
Privately.
No, there's no judgment. Okay. So I'm going to start with saying something that sounds completely unromantic, but is actually one of the most romantic things you can do. Estate planning with your spouse.
I can already hear people signing off. They're just clicking away. Like, thanks, Sarah. Nothing says, I love you. Like talking about death.
No, that's exactly it. Estate planning isn't really about death. It's about protection. It's about making sure that if something happens to you, your spouse is not left dealing with legal nightmares while they're grieving.
Okay, I guess maybe other people might be listening. I'm listening.
Thanks.
So what does this actually look like?
Tim's about to snore.
I'm awake.
I mean, we've talked about this already, but first you need wills. And I cannot tell you how many couples who come in that I meet with who've been married for 10, 15, 20 years, and they have never done wills. They assume everything just automatically goes to surviving spouse. I mean, we've already covered this, but...
It is so disturbing how that has somehow become a thing. Like, oh, when I die, my spouse gets everything.
I don't need no will. My kids figure it out. Well, North Carolina, if you die without a will and you have kids, your spouse only gets sometimes half, sometimes a third. Depends. If those are minor children, that means your spouse might even need court approval to access any money for their own kids' needs.
Which is really awful. We even have a client that's going through this right now.
Yes.
And it's just sad that now this person owns a house with their 12-year-old child.
Yeah, so there's a mortgage on it. He has to pay it, but the mortgage company doesn't want him to pay it because his deceased wife's name is the only one on it because she got the mortgage right before they got married. So it's just a huge mess. It's completely avoidable. With a will, you can make sure that everything goes to your spouse first and then to your kids when you're both gone. You can also name guardians for your minor children together, which is a conversation every parent should have, even though it's hard. What's a guardian, Meghan?
The person who is in charge of deciding your child's medical care, where they go to school, where they live, making sure that you can consent for them to even play sports, go to school.
Yep.
All of those things.
Yeah. And so I think it's a compassionate thing to engage in that planning with your spouse. Like, it's compassionate for your children who are under 18, but it's also an act of love. You're showing that you care enough about your heirs, the people that you want to leave your legacy to make sure that it's more seamless for them.
Honestly, do you really want the court to decide who gets to raise your children?
No.
When you die? Because honestly, that could just be the person that shows up, whines loud enough, and has the most money. That might not be the person who's going to raise your children with the same values, thoughts, and things. Remember your legacy, remember who you are, and teach your children the way that you wanted them to be taught.
That's right. So what about powers of attorney? This is huge. You need both a healthcare and a financial power of attorney. But here's what people don't realize. If your spouse is incapacitated and you don't have these documents, you actually might need to go to court to make medical or financial decisions for them.
Even if you are married.
Yes, even if you're married. Hospitals and banks need legal authority. A marriage certificate is not always enough. So, having these powers of attorney in place means that if your spouse has medical emergency, you can make decisions immediately. You're not waiting for a court hearing while they're in ICU.
So it's honestly practical. And it also is romantic because it shows you trust your partner.
Exactly. It's saying, I trust you to make these decisions for me when I can't make them for myself. Now that's love.
So, another Valentine's Day-y topic that comes up that we see in our office a lot is couples buying a house together.
Yeah, this is exciting. I mean, we covered this before. I love first-time home buyers. I love couples that come to me when they're buying a house together. They're building their life. They're building equity. And sometimes potentially creating a legal mess if they don't do it right.
There she goes. What could go wrong with buying a house with the person that you love?
So much, Megan. So much. Let's start with the basics. So how you take title matters. In North Carolina, married couples usually take property ascended by the entirety, which means if one spouse dies, the other automatically gets the property without going through probate.
And that sounds perfect. But what if they're not married?
Exactly. It is perfect for married couples, but I cannot tell you how many married couples buy property together without understanding their options. If you're not married and you buy a house as tenants in common, then if one partner dies, their share goes through probate and might not automatically go to the surviving partner.
But wait, there's another way. It's like, oh my God, the amount of times I've seen her have this conversation in our office is just ridiculous. But it is true because it's our world and we live in it. So we know what the different options are. But other people don't. And it's sad because doing estates, we see so many times that attorneys do not do their due diligence and explain what the options are and let the people make an informed decision.
Yeah, I mean, we have several active estates open right now with this very issue, including the one that you mentioned earlier. So if you're buying a property with someone that is not your spouse, even if you're engaged, even if you're going to get married, you need to take that property as joint tenants with right of survivorship and not as tenants in common if you want it to pass automatically to the survivor. So my partner and I are buying a house together. We're engaged to be married, but we're not married yet, but we're going to go ahead and close on our loan. Don't take that just as like,
we'll fix it later.
Yeah, we'll take care of that after we get married. Well, you can come back and redo the deed, but so many times people forget or they just don't. But at the closing table, just adding that simple language, I always advise clients to do this. Yeah, so it would say, partner 1 unmarried and partner 2 unmarried together as joint tenants with right of survivorship and not as tenants in common. That simple phrase right there at the end of it cures it. So if something happens to partner 1, partner 2 inherits all of the property without having to go through probate, without having to deal with, kids from a previous relationship, family members, any of that. So it's automatically passes to the survivor. And it's simple. There's no extra cost for it. But so many people just don't know about it. So what if you're not buying property, but you're living together, Megan?
Well, love might be forever, but sometimes relationships are not. So then what?
Yeah. You could have a cohabitation agreement that spells out what happens if you break up, who gets the house, how you buy the other person out, all of that, maybe. But here's another thing. If one person has significantly better credit or income, you might think, oh, we'll just put the house in their name. But then the other person is contributing to the mortgage and has no legal ownership, and that is risky.
So can you put both names on a deed, but only one on the mortgage?
Yes, you can do that. But then you need to be really clear about what happens if you break up. Who is responsible for the debt? How do you divide the equity? And these are not fun conversations, but they're very important ones.
And they're ones that you need to have while you're getting along. Because once somebody gets their feelings hurt, you are not going to come to a easy resolution. And then that just comes into making a family law attorney a lot of money.
That's right. So, the prenup conversation.
So it's time to address the elephant in the room.
The Valentine's room.
Prenuptial agreements.
Oh, the prenup. The thing everyone thinks means, I don't really love you enough to believe we'll make it. That is absolutely not what it means.
I know. And, how do you bring that up without making it sound terrible?
Here's my take. A prenup isn't about planning for divorce. It's about having an honest conversation about finances, expectations, and protecting each other, especially in second or subsequent marriages or when people have kids from a previous relationship. I mean, I feel like a broken record here.
So spell that out for me. Give me an example where a prenup is actually loving.
Okay. So let's say you're getting remarried and you have kids from your first marriage. Your new spouse is wonderful. You love them, but you want to make sure that certain assets, maybe the family home, maybe your retirement accounts, maybe a family heirloom, go to your kids when you die. A prenup can protect that while still providing for your new spouse during the marriage.
So it's not about not trusting your partner.
No, not at all. I think it's about clarity. And here's the thing. North Carolina is an equitable distribution state. So that means that in a divorce, courts divide marital property equitably, but not necessarily equally. And what's equitable can sometimes be very subjective. And a prenup removes that uncertainty.
So what things should people be putting in their prenups? What are the conversations?
So common things like keeping certain assets separate, protecting a business, determining spousal support sometimes, protecting an inheritance meant for kids, family wealth or generational wealth that comes from one side of the family and not the other. Some people even put lifestyle clauses in there, although those are not always enforceable.
Like what?
So like cheating clauses or requiring couples counseling before filing divorce. I'm not a big fan of those clauses because courts do not always uphold those. But the conversation is really about what you both want the marriage to look like. And that conversation in and of itself is very valuable.
Okay, so how would you bring that up? I mean, that is an awkward
It's tricky.
conversation.
And, we're going to put a pin in this. And when we have our friend Amanda, the family law attorney from Charlotte that we always talk about, when we have her on the podcast, we'll go into this more. But honestly, if it were me, I would say something like, I love you. I am so excited to marry you. I want us to be really clear about our financial expectations and our protections from the start. Can we talk to a lawyer about a prenup? Okay, maybe that's not the best way, but it's a good start. And then here's the thing. The tendency is to go to one lawyer, but you really need to each have your own lawyer. That is really important.
So we've covered a lot of unsexy topics today, from estate planning, property ownership, prenups, and breakups. So not exactly hearts and flowers, but that's really not the kind of people we are.
No.
So
Not touchy-feely, sorry.
no, but it was kind of romantic in its own way.
Well, you're looking out for the other.
Exactly.
That's romantic.
Well, real love isn't about grand gestures and Valentine's Day cards,
No.
but having the hard conversations and planning and protecting each other, even when it's uncomfortable. That is really loving someone, is being willing to do the hard things and the uncomfortable things.
Now, those are some sweet Valentine's vibes.
That's right, because it's our Valentine's Day episode. So, make sure that if something goes wrong, you've taken care of the person you love when you're in the right headspace. Because after death, it's too late. And when you're getting a divorce, you're hurt and angry, and you're not in a place to make the right decisions, I guess.
That's right. And, even if you're not married, sometimes the messiest breakups are unmarried couples. It gets really tricky, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah. So if you're not married, obviously you don't have the same legal protections that you would have if you were married. If you own property together, you're going to have to figure out how to divide it. Doesn't matter whose name's on it. Actually, it does matter. But, you know, if you've been putting money into your partner's house and now you're no longer living there, it gets tricky to figure out how to divide it. If you've got kids together but you're not married, you need to establish custody and child support. If one person is financially dependent on the other, there's no spousal support there because you're not married. So you're just out of luck.
That sounds harsh.
Well, it is. It is, which is why I always recommend that unmarried couples in a serious relationship, especially those who have kids together, should have a cohabitation agreement. It's kind of like a prenup for unmarried people.
So what else should people know about breaking up?
So, you know, this is not
hard to
necessarily, this is not necessarily legal advice, right? But first things first, don't make major financial decisions when you're emotional, when you're upset, when you're angry, when you've just had a fight. Don't go and change your beneficiaries with your Schwab account.
Don't hide assets.
Don't call your favorite Edward Jones agent, who will also be a podcast guest at some point. But don't call your Edward Jones advisor and take her off all your stuff.
And dear God, do not use your children as weapons.
No, that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
And my biggest advice, other than the child as weapons, is do not post it all on social media. For God's sakes, people.
My goodness. I've seen so many cases where someone's social media posts come back to haunt them. Just don't do it. Just don't. All right. So we've, like Megan said, we've covered a lot of unsexy topics: estate planning, property ownership, prenups, breakups. Not exactly the kind of Valentine's topics you'd expect, but it's kind of romantic in its own way. So, hey, that wasn't too depressing.
No, not at all. So just honestly make sure that if something goes wrong, you've taken care of your loved ones.
Yeah, so this Valentine's Day, maybe skip the drugstore chocolate or don't. Chocolate's my fave. It's great. But also have some real conversations with your partner about estate planning, about your finances, about what you both want your future to look like legally. Again, that's a compassionate conversation. It's not adversarial, or it doesn't have to be.
It is
And
what you make it.
That's
if you
right.
need help with any of this estate planning and real estate needs, and you happen to be in the state of North Carolina, we can help you.
Absolutely. Find us. Law Office of Sarah Young. We're here to help with estate planning, real estate, other legal stuff that makes life work.
Even on Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. If you're not in North Carolina, we have a network of referral partners that we can send you to that in many states, especially on the East Coast, that I've worked with for various matters. So I might not be able to help you if you're not in North Carolina, but I can certainly point you in the right direction. So that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, thanks for listening to Motion to Spill, everyone. And we'll see you next time with maybe less death topics, you know. Maybe not. I don't know.
No
It's
promises.
a killer.
There we go.
She said what you need is love potion number 9. She bent down and turned around.
Quick reminder, while I am a lawyer, I may not be your lawyer. This podcast is designed to educate and entertain, not to provide legal advice for your personal situation. Every legal issue is unique, and good legal advice requires knowing all the specifics of your case, which I don't have from a podcast. If you need legal help with a legal matter, please consult with a qualified attorney in your jurisdiction who can give you personalized guidance. Thanks for listening, and remember, no attorney-client relationship is created by tuning in.
This is Motion to Spill. All rights are reserved. So this podcast is ours, not yours. We made it, we own it, and we copyrighted it. So don't steal our stuff, don't copy it, share it commercially, or don't try to pass it off as your own genius. If you want to use our content for something, just ask us, like a normal person. We might say yes, and we might say no, but at least you won't be breaking the law. Seriously though, unauthorized use of this content can get you in legal trouble, and no one wants that kind of drama. And I mean, come on, she's an attorney. Don't mess with her.